As sports history fans, we often reminisce about the legends. Willis Reed limping onto the NBA Finals court, Kurt Schilling's bloody sock, Kerry Strug's courageous dismount, and so many more. These moments often define sports history. But what about the countless injuries that did not become legends, or careers that were derailed due to inadequate care? That's where this episode's sponsor comes in. Introducing to you, ILP Sports Consultants, your trusted sports injury partner, available 24/7. Brian Maelli at ILP Sports Consultants has over 20 years of experience in the orthopedic and sports medicine industry, and he has worked with athletes across the gamut, from youth to amateurs, professionals, in almost every sport played in the United States of America, accommodating athletes at every stage of their career. This adaptability ensures that ILP services are perfectly tailored to your skill level, no matter where you are in your athletic journey. With ILP, you are in control. Choose the steps that matter most to you. Diagnosis, treatment plan, recovery, or the whole journey. ILP services are tailored to your unique needs. Rushing for care is a common pitfall, leading to future problems. ILP Sports Consultants helps you make the right decisions, ensuring that you receive timely and safe care. And here's a bonus. Brian hosts the Injured List podcast, sharing insights and athlete stories you won't want to miss. Whether you're a concerned parent or grandparent, or an athlete yourself seeking guidance, ILP Sports Consultants is your beacon of hope in sports injury management. Visit ilpsports.com today. That's the letters ilpsports.com. ILP Sports Consultants, where your well-being is the priority and your recovery is the mission. Choose ILP Sports Consultants for a healthier sports journey, helping you get back in the game the smart way.
One of the cool things about American football is the equipment is always on the cutting edge and getting better and better all the time, making players perform better and safer. But what if I told you that there was a piece of equipment that would be safer for the players, make them improve in their performance, and it's probably not a piece of equipment that you think it is? Dr. Michael Hutchison joins us just a second to tell us all about his innovation.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time. So as we come out of the tunnel of the Sports History Network, let's take the field and go no huddle through the portal of positive gridiron history with pigskindispatch.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your portal to positive football history. And welcome to another edition where we get to talk about a great aspect of football and some football history. And today we have something that's very important on the minds of everybody in football, especially players and parents of players and loved ones. And that is player safety. And we have a physician with us today, Dr. Michael Hutchison, who is going to talk about an invention he has that's going to enhance player safety. Dr. Hutchison, welcome to the Pig Pen.
Hey, well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Doctor, maybe you could start off by just telling us a little bit about your background and how you got to the point of making some innovations to the game of football.
Well, I'm a neuromuscular and cosmetic dentist.
Well, that's a mouthful.
Yeah. And what that means is and this is all part of how this new technology came about. Back in about 2000, I was not really satisfied with what was being taught as far as TMJ syndrome, how to correct grinding, clenching, headaches, migraines. And frankly, what we were taught in school just didn't really work, And I don't like to have a patient come to me and say, I have this problem and what can you do? And for me to say, well, I really don't know what to do for you, or I can't help you, or we have this technique that if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And there's nothing I can do. which is really was the state of the art back then. And I just so happened to meet this guy who'd been doing a different technique called neuromuscular dentistry. He'd been doing it for 30 years, and he was very, very successful at curing TMJ, headaches, migraines. In fact, so much so that he really was world renowned in his technique. And so I started to use that technique for my patients, and with a high grade of success. And the feedback I would get would be that they felt like they had a lot of energy, they felt stronger, didn't have so much tiredness as they did before, and wanted to know what that was all about. And I didn't really know what it was all about, but it really sparked my interest and made me look into what was going on. And it turns out that we have this thing called physiologic jaw position. All of us have our own unique physiologic jaw position. And when we put our jaws in that physiologic jaw position, we can increase our strength. I found out through Wayne State University did a study on what I was doing and showed us 16.8%, 17% increase in your strength output when your jaw was in this physiologic jaw position. And when I was testing that, it turned out that the people who wore that mouth appliance the teams had very few concussions. And we studied over 18 years about 7,000 athletes and had only 9 concussions come up, which is 0.2% concussion rate. It was 19.8% less than the average yearly concussion rate, which is usually 20%. So took it down to almost zero, which is really super intriguing, interesting, and really makes an impact on all sports, not just football or the contact sports, but basically with physiologic jaw position, you can run faster, jump higher, hit the ball farther. You can do all your sports better because you're stronger, you're more stable, your balance is better, your oxygen intake is increased, and you can talk normally, which is I don't know if you wore a mouth guard when you were younger, but you probably would tell me that you didn't like it.
No, that's for sure. Yeah, so this is like really enlightening. So, okay, going back in the 1970s and early 80s when I was playing football, we had the old mouthpiece that you boil in the water and it formed, you put it in your mouth for a few minutes and it forms to your teeth. And, I can remember one time asking my coach, and he probably didn't know much more than us kids did at the time. Coach, why do we got to wear these mouthpieces all the time? And it's like, hey, you knuckleheads, wear them because you're going to get your teeth knocked out or you're going to bite your tongue. And that was sort of what, I think the perception of most folks, and I officiated for 27 years at the high school level too. And a kid would ask me, you tell him, hey, get the mouthpiece in, because by rule in high school for the National Federation, you have to wear a mouthpiece, and tell him put it in there. And I almost had the same idea. I didn't call them knuckleheads like our coach did, but hey, you got to wear it because it's going to keep you from things. But you're telling us, besides the concussion standpoint, but the energy level, and it makes you feel more comfortable and be a better athlete. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, back when, let's say, the current mouthguard was invented, it was 1950s, when Life magazine, if you remember Life magazine,
mm-hmm.
They did a story about some Notre Dame players who were breaking their teeth playing football. And so the American Dental Association got together and studied what could be done, and they came up with a mouth guard. And so they pushed that. They started saying that this is a must-have for all sports equipment of contact sports. They didn't seem to care about what they deemed non-contact sports because what they based their hypothesis on was football players playing a contact sport, causing their teeth to slap together and crack. So it was adopted in '73, I believe, by the NCAA. They made a rule that everybody had to wear a mouth guard, but it was never enforced. It's enforced pretty well in high school, but if you watch any college game, you're going to see guys not wearing a mouth guard. And I looked it up. It's the penalty is a loss of a timeout. So, but I don't think any of us have ever heard of an infraction in a college game where they lost a timeout because of a mouth guard.
Yeah,
They just don't. And in professional ranks, you don't have to wear one if you don't want to. But I'm saying they should wear one, and they should want to, because that level of play, everybody's about the same, except their jaw is holding them back. So a receiver can jump higher, a running back or receiver can run faster, a lineman can block better. They're more balanced and square, more solid. And this applies to every sport, from swimming to golf to baseball to softball. All girls sports, girls should be wearing mouth guards because they're twice susceptible to a concussion than a boy is because of their neck structure. But this type of technology, physiologic jaw position, strengthens all your muscles by 17%, including your neck muscles, which is a pretty much accepted way to decrease concussion events, is by strengthening your neck. But also,
Doctor, is this sort of like an instantaneous gain in strength, or is it something that's acquired over time of wearing the mouth guard?
Absolutely 100% instantaneous.
Really?
Because you've got it in your body's just not working right, because the way your jaw fits together and the associated muscles are disrupting the nerve information to the muscles, and without a lack of a better term, they're just pinching off part of the nerves going to your muscle fibers. Kind of like if you're got a partner and you're waving a rope and somebody pinches it off in the middle, then stops on one side. So your muscle fibers, let's say 17% of them are not getting any information to do anything. So they're just laying there doing nothing. You think you're giving it your all, but you can position your jaw in your physiologic jaw position, and then you can go and you can do more. I've had many examples. I think the best one that really probably I want to give credit to that whole situation, the individual has passed away now, but back in 2003, we had a guy in our small town of Traverse City who was the police chief and the fire chief. And he also loved bench pressing. So he got himself on the United States powerlifting team in the 65-year-old category and higher.
Wow.
He won a national championship that year by lifting 398 pounds. That's the most he'd ever lifted. And the local paper wrote an article about him. Our illustrious police chief, fire chief, is going to the international powerlifting competition on the USA team. And in there, he said, I want to break the world record, which is more than I've ever lifted. And it's 435. And I'm working the next 6 weeks as hard as I can so that I can try to break that world record. And so I didn't know him, but I had just been developing this technology, and I knew that he could do it right now tonight. And so I told him, I called him up, I looked him up in the phone book, I called him cold and I said, I don't want you to think I'm some quack doctor or something, but I can get you your world record tonight. Now, a lot of that was faith on my part because I hadn't really tested a lot. I just knew it worked on Mrs. Jones, who doesn't have TMJ anymore and can carry her boxes from the basement at Christmas time now, and she couldn't do it. So I just knew it would work. And so, yeah, he came over. I made him a mouth guard in his physiologic jaw position. And I knew it would work too because I saw a picture of him and he is missing some teeth and his bite was really bad. And I just knew this is going to work. And sure enough, he went and did his workout and called me and left me an incoherent message. But I could tell how excited he was because he told me he lifted 455 pounds and got scared because he thought he was going to hurt himself. But he said, I could totally do way more. Wow. I told him to expect to be able to do about 480. He didn't believe me, but he got up to 455 and said he could do more. And so I said, well, what I need is data. So give me your logs of your lifting schedule. And so I can have the data. And he got up to 525 pounds before he went to Prague. When in Prague, he broke the world record at 455, and held that for 10 years. But those are really specific. It's not always the amount of a weight you lift, but you have to have your arms parallel and you have to have everything right. And he did that 455 and held it for 10 years. Wow. So I knew at that point, this wasn't just a placebo, an anecdotal thing. It was an actual body principle, a body mechanism that was unheard of and untapped. So I started doing everything I possibly could to get participants in a study to see what kind of results we would get with a long-term study. I did it for 18 years. And I started with my son's 8th grade football team. And they were 0-3 to start the season. And I went to the coach to get data because I went to the Seattle Mariners training camp and the team doctor, they didn't really tell him I was coming. And they just threw me in his office and it was just kind of awkward. And he was mad because they didn't let him know. And he basically said, just send me your data. And I didn't have any data, which made him even more mad. And, but I learned that I needed to have data. So I flew home kind of discouraged, but I knew that I had to get data. So I went to my son's football coach and I had a friend who's an orthodontist here in town. And so his sons played for the Catholic school and I got those boys. So there were about 100 boys that I tested for 6 years. And the results of that test was my son's 0-3 team went on to win the next 6 games by 45 points or more. Wow. And won the conference. The next year they were undefeated, and the next year they were undefeated. And the Catholic school won 5 state championships in a row. And I knew that this was a body principle we just didn't know about. And right about that time, Wayne State University heard what I was doing. They do a lot of testing with car companies. Their biomedical engineering is tops in the country. And they asked me if they could study my invention. And I've said, of course. And so they did. And they took 40 of their football players and we made them 4 different mouth guards. One was mine. One was just a cheapy one that was like you can get for $1 free from a.
So that's your placebo group.
And okay. No mouth guard.
Okay.
And Shock Doctor, which is the number 1 mouth guard sold in America. And Shock Doctor was very mad at me because they had the worst results, even worse than no mouth guard. And I had the best results.
Now, why would that be? Now, would their mouthpiece possibly putting the jaw in a compromising position would make a person weaker than naturally? Is that possibly
That's half of it. The other half is not enough because it's made with the 73-year-old technology. It's made to keep you from banging your teeth together. And it does a great job. But every one of us have our own unique physiologic jaw position that is unique to us. And so we can't just boil and bite because that's not what you get your physiologic jaw position with. And so if you happen to, let's just say by way of thickness, if you so happen to boil and bite your mouth guard in the thickness that you need and in the jaw position that you need for physiologic jaw position, then it will work. But you don't know what you're doing. You don't know if you will or if you won't, because there's no technique to purposefully get it there. So that's why it doesn't work. And a lot of times it makes it worse. It makes you have more concussions by nature of where you're positioning your jaw and your jaw joint. But if you know how to position it and you have the right thickness for you, you can fit it and then go over to the bench press and throw on 17% more and than your max, and you can lift it multiple times.
Now, I guess how long does the process take if an athlete or comes to you and says, "Doctor, I want to be fitted for your device. Put you determine my optimal position of my jaw and do this." What's that process like time wise? What's that?
It's very instantaneous. I wanted it to be like that. I wanted it to be so that any kid could order one, go through the instructions, and fit it themselves. And basically what you want is you want to swallow into it. You don't want to bite anywhere. You don't want to choose to bite anywhere. You want your autonomic nervous system to take over and fit your appliance for you.
Okay, so the people don't have to come to your office to be fitted for it. You have a process that's a home remedy for better.
Yeah, you can order one online. It'll come to your house. There's a set of instructions. It's very important. It's not difficult, but very important to do it. There's also a video you can watch on the website that shows you how to do it. You're basically swallowing into it. And what happens is, if you think about it, when you swallow, you don't really think about doing it. You just do it, right? Because your involuntary nervous system takes over and does it for you. It contracts the muscles that you need to contract. Your brain releases the muscles that don't need to contract, some that do partially, some that twist, or whatever it takes for you to swallow. Your autonomic nervous system does it for you. So that's what you want to do. So you want to warm up the plastic because you want it to be soft. Put it on your lower teeth, then bring your lips together like you're going to kiss your mom and swallow 5 times while it's cooling down. Then when you put it back in, it's always in your physiologic jaw position. And we're basically hardwired to grit our teeth when we go do something really hard. If we're going to go block somebody, we're going to bite down just right before we hit them. Well, you can bite down in your perfect physiologic jaw position, or you can bite down in your bad jaw position. And you get results from doing that. One is good and one is not so good.
Okay, you gave the examples of the weightlifter friend of yours. We're talking about football players. What about maybe something less contact or less upper body strength? Let's say you have a cross country runner. Would something like that benefit them as well and give them?
Absolutely. There's actually a study that was done at the University of Michigan a long time ago, and I have to say that they were using what was called a MORA at that time. They called it a mandibular repositioning appliance. They had no quantitative data on what that was. They just knew that I think it came from some Olympics when the Russian weightlifters came and just annihilated everybody, and they noticed they were putting a jaw appliance in their mouth. And so everybody else decided, well, hey, I guess if you just put something in your mouth, you'll bite on it and you'll get stronger. And that's about the understanding that they had. But there was a jaw appliance that they were using for medicine and dentistry called a Mora. And so they did a study with marathoners, and the conclusion was that they said that they got to what normally was their wall, which is about 16 miles when they wanted to quit, their body wanted to quit. And this Mora moved that sensation to 20 miles instead of 16. So if you go back now and look at the mechanism, it makes sense, because if you're stronger, you're going to perform better. You'll have more stamina. You're going to be more balanced. You're not going to have as much resistance. And so you will run faster. I had several people who dropped their 40-yard dash time 0.2 of a second just by putting in a mouth appliance. I was at a combine a couple of years ago, and they let me pull out 5 guys to test PowerPlus, and some of the results were 7 inches on the broad jump increase, 1.5 inches on the vertical jump, 10 more reps of 250 pounds.
Wow.
Bench press. And a guy dropped his 40 1/10 of a second.
Those are big numbers. So for
huge numbers.
Yeah, they're gigantic. That gets you jumps a couple rounds if you're at an NFL combine or something. You'll get a better draft position, better pay, and change your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're not going to get a concussion 99.8% of the time.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, one of the best anecdotal stories that I have and experiences is Daniel Sorensen. I don't know if you know him, but he played for the Chiefs for 8 years, free safety. He's still playing for the Saints the last 2 years. First point is he hasn't had a concussion at all in the NFL. Never had one wearing my appliance. And he didn't have the custom one. He just had the one you could order online and get it and fit it yourself. But he was my brother's, his wife was my brother's babysitter for his kids. And he graduated from BYU. My brother lives out there. And so when he was invited to the Chiefs, not drafted, just invited to come try out, my brother said, "Here, you should wear this mouth guard. You'll like it." And so he said, "Okay," and he did. And he was just speedily got into starting. He first, got into the special teams, and he was tearing up with the special teams. So they put him in nickel situations in the game, and he was, all over the field. Just they couldn't stop him, couldn't keep him off the field. So then they offered him he started starting every game, and they offered him a $4 million or a $16 million 4-year contract, and he was in 2 Super Bowls. And if you remember the AFC Championship game against the Browns, was 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
The Chiefs were ahead, but they threw a pass to the receiver, and he was running into the end zone with about a minute left in the game, and they were going to win and knock the Chiefs out. And Daniel, I got the clip. Daniel come across the field, hit him in his ear hole at the goal line, and he fumbled out of bounds. It was a touchback, and the Chiefs won. The receiver went out of the game with a concussion, and Daniel pops back up and goes back and gets back into his position. So that's the best poster child anecdotal thing I can give you, is that Daniel never has had a concussion. He's given lots of concussions. In fact, Denver Broncos, a few games earlier than that during the season, he hit the running back and knocked him out with a concussion, and he was fined for that. He's not the kind of person that would try to do that to somebody, and which was interesting is because you didn't see that clip anywhere after, like, the next day. He must have told him to not put it out there or whatever, but he got fined, and he was out for a game because of that. Yeah, actually, he just kind of accidentally hit him under the helmet, and there you go.
Maybe that running back should have been,
the guy's out, right?
Yeah, the running back should have bought your product before that game, right?
So. Right, but Daniel Sorensen has never had a concussion playing free safety. I don't know I don't know what kind of records the NFL keeps, but I've never heard of it. And I've been watching NFL football since I was 5.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so this is a legitimate new discovery in body mechanics, and there's absolutely no reason any parent, any coach, anybody in sports should have any reason but to wear this. You must do this to keep your kid safe and to help your kid play the best that they can play. Let's face it, it's really hard to get into the pros. But if you're being held back by your body and you don't know it, you could be a pro too, but you can't because your body's holding you back.
Yeah. Okay. So let me get this straight. So it's more comfortable than a common mouthpiece that we're used to. It enhances your performance and it keeps you much safer. There's no negative. It's win. So you're right. There's no
negative, and it doesn't even cost. I mean, there's mouth guards out there that cost more, but $43.95 is a pizza on the weekend. It's nothing.
Right. Yeah. So why don't we take this opportunity right now, Doctor? Let's give the name of your product and where folks can have the opportunity to purchase it.
Right now, the fastest, easiest way is to just go on to PowerPlusMouthguard.com, and you can get a lot of useful information that you would like, and also order one right there. It'll come to you in 2 to 3 days in the mail. And then what I recommend is you go back on the website and watch the video. That's the fitting video, shows you how to do it. It's not like you're used to, and if you fit it like your old mouth guard, it will not work. You have to do it the way it's described. Like I said earlier in our talk here, you have to do it that way because that's how your body works. And that's the fastest, easiest way to get it.
Okay. And listeners, if you're driving or don't have a pen with you, we're going to put the link to Doctor's site on the show notes of the podcast, also on Pigskin Dispatch for the accompanying website post that we'll put up there to get you connected to Dr. Hutchison and his wonderful device, the PowerGuard. And Doctor, we got to make me a promise here that you don't tell my wife about this, because she'll have me wearing this mouth guard to cut the grass and take the garbage out. So it enhances my performance of doing that. So
that's funny, because I do have a guy who wears one when he cuts his grass.
Really? Okay.
I don't get tired anymore. I got 2 acres. I like to do it for exercise, but I'd be exhausted after I was done. Now it's great. I don't have a problem. So it's funny that you say cut your grass.
So maybe I should be.
It really is. I mean, it's not just sports, but it's any physical activity. If you like to go hiking, you like to ride your bike, play recreational hockey, whatever, it's going to make your body work better. And that's the important thing about it. So all your friends, everybody that you know, influential people, you must tell them and let them know, because this is going to be something that's going to really benefit them, their kids, keep them safe, and help them play the best they can.
Doctor, you've made me a believer. I wasn't really sure where this was going at first, but man, I believe it. Your data is very convincing. Mr. Sorensen playing in the NFL and putting a team in the Super Bowl basically with a play, and probably some of that attributed to with your device. And wow, quite a fascinating study and great. I'm glad your word is getting out there, and we're going to help you to promote that and make sure more of these players in all sports are doing it to have a better experience, a safer experience, and more comfortable with their mouth appliances. So thank you very much for joining us today, Doctor.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. And, everybody power up. PowerPlus Mouthguard.com.
Peeking up at the clock, the time's running down. We're going to go into victory formation, take a knee, and let this baby run out. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow for the next podcast. We invite you to check out our website, PigskinDispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. PigskinDispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. A special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, Sports History fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I wanted to thank you for stopping by to listen to another episode here on the Sports History Network. Our podcasters are passionate about uncovering and sharing sports stories from yesteryear. And if you didn't know it already, we have over 30 shows across the network covering all sorts of sports history topics. In fact, here's a glimpse into one of our awesome podcasts here on the network.
Each week, the official Football Learning Academy podcast will take you deep into the history of pro football through interviews with players, coaches, or administrators in the NFL, as well as interviews with Pro Football Hall of Fame selectors, authors, and historians. You'll learn how the game evolved and important moments that shaped the sport into what it is today. And don't miss the Pro Football History Nugget of the Week. Listen to the official Football Learning Academy podcast on the Sports History Network.
How about that? I bet you're super hyped to go listen to that new podcast, right? Well, to learn about this show and all the other podcasts on the network, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com/podcast. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/podcast. Head over there today to find your next favorite sports history podcast.